Hi everyone, please welcome with me Rebecca Bergemann from Germany. Rebecca has spent quite a while going overseas, living in Brazil, even has like a very cute son with half Brazilian roots, and also is now living in Portugal, her newfound home, and has been a flight attendant for quite a while as well, and of course traveled quite a lot through that job. So today I'm so grateful that Rebecca had some time to talk to me about her story, her experience, about living overseas, about even having like a child who is half Brazilian, and just whatever else we explored today. So thank you so much for having time, Rebecca.
Hi, thank you.
It's
How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing? It's early in the morning for you.
Yeah, it is, but it's fine. I am an early bird anyway.
Perfect. And you woke up to the beautiful sound of waves in Portugal. How do you like it over there?
I love it actually. When we came here, we didn't even plan to stay. It was like everything was falling into like it was flowing and everything was unfolding itself. So, yes,
It was meant to be.
of course, I think so. Yeah. It was just
Awesome.
like, yeah, everything came by itself.
Nice. That's how it should be. How did you first came in contact with the whole topic of traveling, living, or going into different countries and exploring the world? Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like when it started, how it happened, and how it made you want to go overseas or have that feeling of wanderlust?
I think it's since my childhood already. My dad always took us traveling as well, not just within Europe, but also like to Asia, Southeast Asia, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, and yeah, it's somehow how I grew up, and I always liked it. And yeah, when we were in Germany, I I couldn't even explain how I felt, but I always had the feeling that I can't stay in a 9 to 5 job, and I was trying to escape this kind of lifestyle. Um, and yeah, that's how I switched jobs as well because I just felt something is not right. When I lived in Neustrelitz, like a small village, or a small city actually, I felt like I have everything. I had a house, I had a safe job, everything was pretty secure. I had a dog, and like somebody viewing from the outside would say, "Oh, she has a perfect life," but for me, it didn't feel right, and I was sad, and I was like, "I, why do I even go up in the morning? Just like, what is the sense of all this?" Um, yeah, and I was already planning to travel, but then a friend of mine who was in Australia at those time, she was no, in Cambodia. She was like, "Ah, you need to go traveling. Come over. I have a job for you, um, and here's a resort. Maybe you can just go away." Yes, and so I was sitting at my job inside the office, and I just locked the door and made like I don't know a million mind maps. It was like a big chaos. And then I was like, why not? I checked my bank account and I was like, okay, I could afford a flight ticket. And then I just did it.
Right.
Yeah.
I I remember you were telling me about it, and I think a lot of people feel this way, and I think a lot of people don't really know how to organize their thoughts. So can you just walk us a little bit into detail it, or in detail through that moment when you sat there? What actually went through your head? What emotion did you feel? And how did you actually came up then, or came to the solution or goal or end plan that going overseas, taking that trip will actually help you get back to normal pretty much, like just that feeling?
Um, I actually, I yeah, um, like I felt it a long time already, or for me a long time. It was just like going up, going to work, and then I went to the gym or something, and the day ended, and everything was like the same rhythm all the time. And those days, I was talking to my friend a lot, and because I was sad, I was crying nearly every day, and I didn't even know why. Um, and then when I went to the office, I don't even remember what happened that day, but I was stressed and I was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was just like, what am I going to do with my life? I can't, because I've been in a relationship those time as well. So I was like unsure if I can do it. Like I didn't talk to my partner. Um, and I was sitting there, I just locked the door. I put the phones on silent and took all the paper from the printer. And then I was like, what makes me happy? I was sitting there crying. I was I was super confused actually. I don't even know what I felt. Just like sadness. I felt lost. I didn't know where to go, but I felt the need of change. And I was just like, okay, what makes me happy? How do I imagine my life? What kind of activities do I like to do? Why does it excite me? So many things I
Yeah.
don't remember in detail, but it was
Yeah.
like it was unfolding itself. So one mind map led to another one, and to another one, and to another one. And after a while, I was sitting there in a like in a mountain of paper. I was like, oh my gosh, right now I'm the pretty crazy woman who just
With
locked
the
the
mental
door.
breakdown.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was like, wow, that's too much. And then I just decided to book that flight. And it was on a Tuesday, and I arrived in Cambodia on a Saturday. So my friend, she knew that. She knew that if I'm not doing it in that moment, I won't do it. So she was like, we need you here by Saturday. And I was like, okay, I take that flight. I plan it right now. And then there was no going back. I just called
Right.
in sick and yeah, a sabbatical or some unpaid vacation. And I didn't know how I will resolve everything
Yeah.
because my trip to Brazil was already planned as well. Because yeah, um, usually I was planning to go to Brazil later on that year, but I couldn't wait until then.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, thank you so much for sharing all of that, because I think a lot of people, as said, are in this situation. And of course, I'm not telling everyone to just, throw everything, quit the job and leave. But I think it is really important to sometimes try to understand your emotions around it, because sometimes you don't really make sense of it. You don't really know why you feel the way you feel. You just know something is not right. And you had that idea of you need to go overseas and you need to travel. And so it's probably important to say there are so many people out there like you, like me, like, everyone who has taken that step to actually go overseas and live abroad, or take that long gap year or whatever it is. And usually it turned out pretty good, but it's just good to know that everyone is lost at one point, and there are solutions, there are moments to just sit and think what makes you happy. But then you went to Cambodia. What type of job did you get there?
I was working in a resort actually. I did like check in, check out, just the basic hotel stuff. I've never done that before. I was like, okay, how do I do it? And they showed me the different systems from Booking, Agoda, Beds24, whatever. Um, yeah, and I got into that, but I didn't stay that long because I continued to travel. Um, And I also still felt like, what am I doing here? Am I running from anything? What do I try to find? And I still felt pretty lost and overwhelmed, yeah, due through the situation. Um, yes, and then I continued. I worked in a diving center. I went to Vietnam, and then in the end, visiting my dad on Philippines.
Right, because your dad was already living in the Philippines for a while at that
Yeah,
time, right? So
yeah,
it's,
exactly.
yeah, it stays in the family.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's probably how I went out that way.
Yeah. When did you decide that becoming a flight attendant would be the right thing to do for you?
Mm. After that, I went like after this Asia trip, I went to Brazil. Mm. And that's actually when I also decided to quit my usual job. Um, they found out that I'm traveling and that I'm not sick at all. Maybe I had a mental breakdown, but they were like stalking my social media and they already knew about that. So um, I paid, yeah, just like I quit there, and they actually even wanted me to pay back. They paid for my studies, so I needed to stay in the contract for more 3 years, I guess. And I was like, no, I just can't do it. And yeah, after I went back from Brazil for the first time, I was like, okay, what am I going to do right now? I'm without money. I'm broke. I don't know where to go, what to do. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to try to become a flight attendant. And everybody was like, oh, that's so hard. You can't do it. That won't work out, blah, blah, blah. And I was actually afraid because my English wasn't good at all. Um, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? But I just signed up for different airlines, went to different castings, and yeah, in the end, it became Lufthansa. So it went out perfectly fine, and it wasn't even as hard as everybody said. It was just like
Right.
going there, showing up, and that's it.
Right. So in the process, because I know that a lot of people say, oh, it's so hard to become a flight attendant. You have to look a certain way, you have to be a certain way, you have to bring a set of skills already. Can you do you know which rumors or which reputation there is and what skills are required, and then tell us what it was for you? Because you say it wasn't like that at all, but do you know what everyone says, what's required? And then can you just walk us through the whole process that you went through?
Okay, actually, I applied online. Then you need to do like a normal test. Um, there were different topics. A part of it was English, then some physics things, but pretty basic, I would say. And after that, I got invited. They also, yeah, they paid for my flight to Frankfurt, and there was like a kind of a casting. It was a day where everybody was arriving there, and they talked to everybody, like in small group, like an assessment center, something like that. Mm, and yeah, after this assessment center, what was pretty basically as well, um, I talked to a psychologist, but more in terms of they were checking if you're empathic, how you lead with different emergency situations, if like a customer is afraid of flying and panicking, how do you lead with the situation? Things like that. Then we talked a bit. It wasn't that hard, actually. It was just like a normal situation, getting in contact, getting to know the company, the people. And then a couple of weeks later, they told me that everything is fine and I needed to do my SUP. it's something where you prove that you're not a criminal
Yeah.
or haven't been for the last 5 years. And yes, after that there was the medical, so an average fitness and health. I think that's it. Because we also have people, or at least one person I know, with a fake leg at Lufthansa. So even if you have like a serious case, you can still become a flight attendant. Um,
Right. That's really interesting. I had no idea. I would have thought that disqualifies you right away, but obviously they need to also have people with disabilities being able to get the
I
chance, right?
I think if you start like that, it might be a different situation. But if something happens within your time working as a flight attendant, they will still try to keep you and make it
Oh,
work.
right.
Um, of course, you need to have you need to have the movements. You need to be able to evacuate an airplane. If you can't do that, you will be disqualified, of course. Um, so a basic fitness and mental state should be there. Yeah, yeah. And then it just started with a 3 month class, um, like a training. Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah,
After that, you
that's
you are a flight
awesome.
attendant.
Right. But it is full on when you just compare it to another job. I don't think many job or many places are actually saying, okay, you need to talk to a psychologist or something just to see how your mental state is. I didn't have to do like a fitness test for my job. Like, it's obviously more tailored to specific things you have to do in an airplane, or like you need to deal with people, so you need to be some sort of a people person. You can't just be a completely non-emotional towards people's reactions. You can't be like the person is scared of flying. You can't be like suck it up. It's what it is. You have to kind of be
Yeah,
there, help. Yeah. So that's interesting because I had no idea. But also, can you tell us a little bit about that 3 months training? Because I think everyone is kind of like, for me, I always had that in mind that at least the ladies had to learn how to do the perfect bun and the perfect makeup and all of that. Is it really like this?
there's a part that calls smile and style or style and smile. I don't even know. I don't remember. But yeah, you learn how to put your on uniform like the right way, how you make a bun, what kind of lipstick fits to you, and things like that. But it's a really pretty small part of it. Um,
Right.
the major part of the training is more like security,
Thank
fire
God.
secure, like yeah, yeah. Yeah. Where are the emergency equipments inside the airplane, the procedures, how you deal with different situation. Because in aviation, you have a procedure for everything. It's not like you're acting the way you want. You have a commando, you have like a list which is telling you what are the steps in the right way, how you open the door, what you are looking for. There's a procedure for everything. So this is a pretty great part um, that you learn. And yes, some like if you have a ditching on the water, how do you take the, because normally it's a slide, but you can use it as a boat as well and things like that. So there's some swimming and some sliding and some evacuation trainings as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
and some service
Very
training
cool.
as well, of course.
Yeah. Did you ever have a moment where they would offer you some flight lessons as well?
What do you mean by that?
Like, I remember my brother, he worked for Airbus and he was the guy who was helping create the parts and put it together. But he also, in his training and in his place, he got offered certain amounts of lessons to actually fly himself.
Okay, yes. If you work in aviation, you can fly standby, for example, and you get cheaper flights. It's like taking a bus, actually. If there's some seat left, you can jump on it, and you pay a different amount because your place is not secure. If the plane is full, you're just like you will be left. You need to wait for the next plane and try it again. Um, but yes, there are like cheaper flights, more
Right.
flexibility. You can like cancel your flight last minute and you will get paid back. You can switch it from one flight to another, just like last minute. Okay, I can't take this flight. I'll take the flight 1 hour later. So that's pretty cool, actually.
So these are
That's something
definitely the
I
perks of being a
yes,
flight attendant.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're super flexible. If you want to go to New York tomorrow, you just jump on a flight and just go there. And you also have different airlines you could take. So within this group, you could take, for example, United Airlines or TAP or LATAM. So it's a group, and you can take the planes of different airlines. It's not just Lufthansa.
Right. Right. So these are the advantages of being a flight attendant.
Yeah.
But so you would not have actually training to like fly to be in the cockpit and actually fly the airplane,
No,
right?
no, 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 not at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Not at all.
Right. Like that's
Not at
what I
all.
meant with my brother. Like he was able
Ah,
to
okay.
actually get lessons to fly the whole thing. So I was like, okay,
Wow.
I don't think that's necessary, but good to have. So
Of course it is. I think it's amazing, and if you like in the technical part, you need to have a
yeah,
better understanding as well. So it's like everybody who's working with cars, they might also need to handle the car in parts
yeah,
to
yeah.
know what's broken.
That's definitely true. Yep. But unfortunately, that's not a perk of a flight attendant to be able to do that.
No,
Right.
I would love that.
Yeah, it would be really cool. I would be quite terrified, I have to say, but it would be such an amazing experience. Yeah. So, would you recommend being a flight attendant to other people who are considering doing it?
Of course, yeah. I think it's a lot of fun. Also responsibility, but the fun part is pretty huge.
Yeah.
At least it was for me, and I really love flying as a flight attendant. Like when I became a mom, my feelings about that changed a bit because
Yeah. I
my
wanted to ask.
priorities are changing. But if you're free and because actually you are flying and then you're free as well at your layover, of course you will be tired and things, but there are so many benefits. You have like 5 days off, like directly. You have um, a huge amount of vacations, and it's
Yeah.
not
How
like nine
much
to
do you
five every
have
day.
that? How many
That's a
days?
good
Like, if you
question.
go to a country, can you just stay there for 1 or 2 weeks and have a proper holiday and then use another flight
It
to get back?
depends.
Or,
Like within the layover, no, you're coming with the same crew and you're going back with the same crew. So it's like something within 24 hours to 3 days, more or less, on long distance flights. Like short distance, there is not that much time. But yeah, um, but in your at your free time, you can do whatever you want, and you also can take a flight. You just need to pay for it. So yeah,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's like 42 days of vacation a year, and your off time, like your rest time after flight. You need to rest because of the time differences and stuff. So yeah.
That's awesome. 42 days. Oh my God. People will be happy to hear that, I guess. Especially when you are from different countries where, like, some countries have barely any annual leave. New Zealand has around 20 for most places, but some companies are more or less. And then Germany has usually around 30, I guess we had, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So 42 is quite a good number.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But as you mentioned, when you became a mom, you were still a flight attendant, right? How did you handle that? Like, how did you make that work?
In the beginning, I took some time off. Um, if you're like breastfeeding your child, you're not able to fly, so they will pay you and you can stay at home. But after 1.5 year, I was like, oh, I want to do like I wanted to go back flying, and I just tried it for a couple of months, but I didn't feel it that much. I was always worrying about my child, and I was seeing different children within the airplane, and I was like, there was a moment where I was just seeing a little boy with curly hair, and I started to cry. I was like, okay, I need to go. I can't, because I missed him so much. And of course, you have a lot of time at home as well, but like if you see 1 month and you are away for 14 days in total, more or less, it's a lot. For me, it's a
Yeah.
lot. But as people are different, I know so many moms still flying, so they take a part-time job as a flight attendant, for example, or yeah. So there are options to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
You can do it.
So
You just need to
it's,
feel comfortable.
yeah, it depends on what type of personality you are and if you are okay leaving your child in daycare or just with your partner or yeah, especially if you're a single mom, I guess that's also a completely different story. So because you are physically not there. Yeah.
And it's also like overnight. You can't you won't be back if anything is happening. How will you be back from, for example, Brazil or New York or whatever?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So how many years did you do it before you said, I can't, I need to be at home with my son?
I'm still employed there, but I took some family time. So after that, I took the Elternzeit. I don't even know how to call it in English. Like
Um,
some
mat-
maternity time.
yeah, maternity leave, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And after that, some family time and unpaid vacation. Um, but I just don't feel it that much anymore.
Yeah.
I really love what I did, but at the moment, my priority is more being a mom, and I also find a place where I really enjoy to live. I don't even feel the need of traveling that much. Um, I'm
Yeah.
just like, I want to rest. I want to stay at home. We have beautiful beaches around, and I
Yeah.
think this is something that always caught me as well, like being in a warm country, having the ocean around. Yeah.
Yes. And definitely will come back to Portugal, but there's this whole chapter Brazil in between. And
hmm
what made you go in the first place to Brazil? Why Brazil?
Mm. My sister, my younger sister, she was married in Cuba. And as my dad always took us to Southeast Asia when we were children, and I was traveling a lot to Thailand, Cambodia, and all the Asian countries before as well. She was like, why don't you go to discover just like South America? Like, why are you always going back to the same countries? And I was like, okay, you're right. And I have a second sister. She's half Portuguese. So in our childhood, we already spent time in Portugal and also like learning the basics of Portuguese. And I was like, I'm interested in how Brazil was like developed, and was a country that I was interested in. So I decided, okay, why not? Let's try it out. Let's go to Brazil. And yeah, so there was a site. Um, I don't remember the name, but it was like Workaway, workaway.info.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And I found a job in Brazil like in 2015, and I was like, okay, so I have free accommodation and food, and I'll have something to do. I will meet people already, and yeah,
Nice.
everything unfolded as well, and I just went there. Yeah.
Right. Were you planning on staying long term, or were you actually just like going with the flow, seeing how things go?
I was planning to stay longer, like a couple of months. I went to Salvador, but I actually went back earlier because I got robbed. They took my cell phone
Oh,
and pushed me down the cliffs, and after that, I was afraid,
oh my
and I
God.
wanted to go back. Yeah, yeah. And so I took a flight back a bit earlier. Um, but it wasn't from Salvador, it was from Rio. And so I went to Rio, and when I arrived in Rio and I saw the mountains and the ocean, I started to cry and I was like, it's so beautiful here, I can't go. I need to stay. I'm not ready with that. It was just the first moment of shock.
Oh
Like
my
I
God.
was panicking. And
I would. Like,
yeah.
come on, being robbed and then pushed down a cliff. Like, did you get injured?
Yeah, I still have like a few marks, but it was just like superficial. In the
But
end, it was superficial.
and in that moment, nothing major happened. Like, obviously, you're alive and in one piece,
Yeah.
but in that moment, was
Um,
it just like a little bit, like a little slip, or like how can I picture that? Because that sounds terrific.
I was sitting on a bench in front of the hostel I've worked in with my cell phone in my hand, and everybody told me, don't do that, don't do that. And I felt so safe because the streets in Brazil seem pretty Europe, and if you're not used to it, you feel safe. You feel so super safe. And I was sitting there at the bench, and then I saw two guys, and I was like, okay, something is strange. They probably want me to ask something, or and then it was like just like 2 seconds or things, and they were holding me, taking my phone, and pushing me up. Um, and I fall on a rock. On a rock, there was a little. There were like some stairs going down as well. Um, but I was falling down the rocks, and it was not just like a cliff and you fall into the ocean. It was like more rocky kind of way. So I landed on the rocks, and I was like, "Where's my second shoe?" And then I was just like seeing them running, one to the left, the other to the right, and I didn't even feel my injuries. I didn't see that I'm bleeding. I didn't recognize anything. And I was like, okay, how can I go to the other side of the street? And I was like, hold them. Um, yeah, but they were gone. Yes.
Oh God. So your
And
first bad
after that,
experience right away.
but in the end, nothing happened. It was a shock, but I'm fine. And I think it's pretty
Yeah.
common, like cell phones, bags. I wouldn't leave it at the beach, for example. Because if you
Good
go
to
to the water
know. So
and
you
you're with people,
definitely
it's fine.
learn. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
But after that, when you went back, did you just change completely the way you saw things and the way you went about things? Or did you just say, okay, I had this experience. Now I just
Mm.
hope for the best? Like, what changed with that moment and when you decided that you wanted to stay there longer?
Um, I listened more to the people who told me don't do that. Because before I was like, why shouldn't I leave my phone on my back pocket of my jeans, for example? Everybody told me don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And I always did it because I was used to it. I always had it in my back pocket. And there was like, this just like, it's a calling to people like, please take me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, and I got more conscious of my environment, and I was like watching out more for the situation. I was not that blind anymore, but I haven't been afraid or anything because I met so many great people in Brazil who helped me out a lot. And I think it's nothing you can like you can't say it's just in Brazil. But there's a higher chance of happening something like that than, for example, in Portugal. Um,
Yeah.
so due to my experience, maybe people think different about that, but um, yeah, it's South America, so
Yeah,
another
you were just,
reality.
yeah. So do you think in the first moment you were going over quite naive and then you just realized, okay, self-awareness and awareness of your
Yeah,
surroundings is really, really important. But then you also meet all these great people in the country and you feel like you know now where to go, what to do, what not to do.
yeah, exactly. Like that, yeah. And when I met more people and they showed me the different parts of the cities and where I need to take care, I just paid more attention on what they said. Yeah. Before I
Yeah.
was like, ah, what should happen? People are nice, everybody's nice. And yeah, realities are different as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, a hard learning lesson, but at least you learned it without like having major injuries or anything like that, and
Yeah.
just losing your phone and maybe a shoe. um, but yeah, it's definitely interesting because I guess, especially for people from Europe or for people from safe spaces, places, countries, um, are not that aware and should definitely do their homework in checking out the country, making sure to listen to the locals and to the people around them and to everyone who has experience. So, because it can end also in a major incident, right? So, glad that you're okay and that it didn't stop you from going back and loving the country and its people because I'm sure it's beautiful.
It is. It's
And
super beautiful.
obviously you met someone you fell in love with and have a son. So great story of Brazil, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. But like, I'm always going with my heart, I think. Also, when we met, for example, we met in a hostel and we were talking, and then he was like, okay, come back, we can stay in the hostel. So I was already a flight attendant at that time when we met, but I knew this people or his friends from 2015 because I stayed in Rio in the hostel of his friend. Um, and we met like 2018 in the, yeah, in 2018 and it was just like, okay, come back. And then I was on the plane without any money. I had like 100 or 200 euros on my bank account, and he was like, okay, we can't stay at the hostel, I don't know what to do. And I was like, what the heck, I'm on the flight, I'm on the plane right now. And he was like, okay, I'm going to talk to my parents, you can stay with us. And I was like, okay. And I was just like meeting somebody I have seen once before, and it was just like, okay, this is crazy. This is so super crazy. We've seen each other once before, like for a couple of hours, and then I just decided to take this flight back. Yeah.
Wow. So it's definitely lots of courage, a little bit of craziness, and also like willingness to
Yeah.
trust not just in yourself and in the process, but also in other people that you barely know. I actually have a story, not not like this, but I also met someone while I was traveling in New York, and then I went back by myself, and that person offered me to stay at their place, and I did somehow, even though like normally you would say like, no, don't go, you barely know this person, just what's going on. But there's this, especially with travelers and people from different countries, there's this weird instinct, and I think it's important to listen to the instinct but also be careful because we know of stories where it ended not great. So it's just important that, tell people where you are. Don't blindly do things without letting people know and stuff like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes that's the greatest adventure. And look at you now, like you're all together in Portugal.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yes.
And So after Brazil, I know you went a couple of times back to Germany, and I know you didn't really feel like that's your forever home as well, but they are your roots. So I guess it's sometimes easier to just go back from where you came from when something is a little rough. But what was your moment of deciding to go to Portugal? And did it help that you were in Brazil for such a long time with Portuguese, that your language was better? And did it help to feel home in Portugal right away?
I think so, yes. So the Portuguese from Portugal is a bit different, but actually last year, Daniel was in Brazil working, and I was with Theo in Germany, and I couldn't imagine to move to Brazil at all. And I visited my sister, the half Portuguese sister, and I felt like slowing down, coming back into my energy. Um, in Germany, I felt like in survival mode, fight or flight. Um, and I had a kindergarten. Actually, it was all fine, but like the most of the time, I had a job, but I was so stressed and burned out, and I was like, no, this is not the life I want to live. Um, and I was just like visiting my sister. Then I went back to Germany, and I was still like, no. And then there was a situation where we needed to change the kindergarten, and I didn't have any space for him. So I switched my job to a home office job. Um, and I had a child at home working from home 30 hours a week, and it was like exhausting. And then I was like,
Yeah.
okay, if I'm working from home, I'll take a vacation at least. I'm doing it at home, so why couldn't I do it from another country? And I went back to Portugal, and I took an Airbnb. I was just like chatting to the landlord, and I was like, oh, actually, I'm searching for anything long term. And he was like, yeah, actually, I have something long term because the people who are living there, they just bought a house and they will move out. I was like, okay. And then I realized that it was pretty hard to work from home with a child without a kindergarten. And I tried to find something here. And Daniel just quit his current job in Brazil as well. And I was like, so come over, please come over, please, 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 right now. And he was like, yeah, I just need 1 or 2 more weeks and then I could come. And then we just bought a flight and he was coming and he was actually planning to go back to continue on the university in Brazil. But when he was here, he was like, okay, I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay with you guys and we will figure it out and make it happen. And yeah, that's
and
actually
that's
how it was. Yeah, we
and
went
that's
to
where you're
Germany
at
just,
right now. Sorry.
yes, yes, we've been here for maybe 3 weeks altogether. Then we moved back to Germany because I had my car in Germany and everything. Um, and we just like after a week we were so stressed and fighting as well, and everybody was unhappy. And then we decided to go on a road trip, take the car. We put everything inside was what was necessary at that moment, and we went back to Portugal. And after I realized like it took us 4 or 5 days to come back by car to Portugal. I was like, no, this car will stay here forever. We just slid it into our permanent rented apartment, and I still had my apartment in Germany. And I was like, how am I going to resolve that? And in the end, I just paid a company to throw everything away and leave it free and clean it up. Um,
Wow.
I was just like, all this material stuff, how will I get it here? And what do I actually need from that? And yes, that's how the era in Germany ended completely.
Wow. So you just pretty much got rid of everything you had there, chucked it out. It's another proof that you don't need much to live somewhere and to be happy, right? It's like you don't need much of materialistic things. You just need a few items, maybe some sentimental that have sentimental value, and that's it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
some pictures. what did we take? I just took my surfboard, the bike of my son, some childhood pictures, and that's it. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like a whole new story. Again, like we could probably do a whole second episode just on that. That's crazy. But yeah, it does show like it's also taking a certain type of character, I guess, to do these things. So, wow, well done. Like that takes so much courage as well. So many uncertainties, so many moments of I'm not sure where to go, what happens, how to do it, how to finance it. Like, yeah, really awesome that you're just doing it step by step and living your life that way and make it happen. So, congratulations.
Yeah, but I also felt lost a long time. And you asked me before when I started to feel home, and I think it was when we were here as a family supporting each other. Because when all curtains are falling, in the end, you have your family, the family you come from, or the family who comes from you. Um, so I think this was like the support, and everybody was like in a more natural, relaxed way. Um, yeah, when I really realized this is the place to be for the moment.
Yeah. What do you think you need in a country to be able to make it your home or call it home or develop that feeling of home?
Mm, that's a good question, actually, because in the most, like in Germany, I didn't feel that home since I moved out from my dad's house. Um, I haven't had the feeling of being like home. It was always like sitting in a hotel. Like I felt like my apartment, of course, it was my apartment, but it didn't feel like a home. I don't even know how to explain it. Maybe it's people, maybe it's also the ocean. My, I think I need to feel a kind of comfort. Like sometimes we stay in the comfort of the discomfort, and that's how I felt in Germany. And right now I feel fulfilled. Maybe also people like family and um yeah, but also within me, like when I'm driving around here, I'm just like, wow, thank you so much for this. Thank you for the trees. Thank you for the mountains. Thank you for the ocean. Thank you for the sun. And I'm just like, wow, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I've arrived. I don't know. I can't explain that. It's just
Yeah.
in an inner feeling. I don't know.
Yeah. You feel at peace somehow?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. You look really like relaxed in a way and just happy. Like, I don't know. It's just that. Yeah, as you said, you can be grateful for everything around you. You walk around and you think like, "Oh my God, thank you so much for being able to be here." That's really awesome. You did not feel like that in Brazil though?
Mm, I felt like I've been grateful a lot, but for me it was more like a stressful environment. Maybe also because of Rio is a big city and I'm not that much of a city person.
Yeah.
Um, and the awareness I needed to take on different situations that's just like took out my energy, and that I couldn't walk in the dark by myself. I always took an Uber. Um, and as a mom, when I traveled there with my son, like there was a situation, somebody was following us, and situations where I felt uncomfortable, so
Yeah, yeah.
unsafe in some way. Like yesterday here in Portugal, we went to the beach in the morning, like around 7 or 8. Um, and there were nobody. I wouldn't have done this in Brazil, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess safety is a big point as well. So I'm really glad that you found your place where you feel like you can settle. And were you able to build some new friendships or have some old friendships, or how is that going?
It's going actually super fine. We met some people, and I think the people I met so far, here are so many expats, so they made kind of similar experiences. Um, they also landed here, and I also think that it's more open-minded. Um, since I'm here, for example, I see a possibility in things I've never thought about before. I was never like thinking selling things on a market would be or could be an option to earn some money, just to make it happen. Like I was so locked in my head of um, working 9 to 5 in Germany just to afford a certain way of living. And I always felt the need of traveling because I was not at home. And right now it's like, I want to stay. I just need to find a way to make it happen. And before it was like, I need to find a way to get away. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's a really good side. Like, yeah, I totally feel you on that. I understand that, and I think you put it really nicely in words. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. I'm so happy for you that you
thank you.
found your place. And I'm really keen on maybe one day visiting you. That would be awesome.
That would be
Who knows?
amazing. You're always welcome.
Thank you. You are also welcome in New Zealand if you ever need a little bit of a change, just to go for vacation. Of course, not for escaping again, just to, explore a little bit.
I would love that as well. It's on my bucket list.
Great. I end every episode with the quick 3 questions where I usually just go with one word or one sentence. And it's just
Mhm.
kind of to, yeah, sum up a little bit of a great story. Are you ready for your quick 3?
Yes.
Okay. It's a tricky one, the first one. Usually it's the easiest for everyone, but for you I think it's not that easy. But what do you miss the most from Germany as your home, your roots in a way?
For my like, I don't have so many roots anymore in Germany, so the the only thing what is coming up in my mind is maybe DM or Rossmann, like a drugstore.
Yeah, yeah. Nice. A really convenient thing. Like, yeah, I get that. It's just having everything you need in a way, right? Yeah. Nice. Great answer. Didn't have that before. All right. Second one. I will go with the country Portugal, and I'm not sure in what city you are living in, but where you are living in, is there any food place or any activity you could recommend to people who want to come to Portugal?
Hiking on the cliffs, like surfing as well, or if you just want to skinny dip on a lost beach, it's also possible because here are beaches where there's literally nobody. So yeah, and the food
Awesome.
place, I think it's like the small restaurants where you think they're not that beautiful, like the typical Portuguese food, like the seafood and the salads, and yeah, like the
Yeah.
more hidden things.
The little hidden gems where you think, oh, I shouldn't go in there, but then it's amazing
Yeah,
afterwards.
yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
Awesome. And also with the activities, most of them don't really cost you any money. So that's good advice.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. I will specify it a little bit or make it more specific to your experience. What would you recommend someone who would want to become a flight attendant? Any kind of advice?
Just do it. Just sign up for different airlines and dive into the process, and it will unfold because there's so many airlines. They sometimes they are on need. Maybe you need to apply. I have a friend. She applied like 4 times for Lufthansa, and they told her 3 times that it won't work out, and the in the end she ended up there as well. So don't give
Great.
up.
That's awesome. Thank you. What a great advice. And I'm really hoping that someone will hear that and or watch it. And also thanks, like that's great advice. I can take something from it. I want to be a flight attendant. I want to go to Brazil. I want to live in Portugal. Whatever it is that inspired you, I hope that you enjoyed this episode with Rebecca. Thank you so much for your time and effort and story. And I hope that everyone who is watching or listening enjoyed it too. Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.